Penn State wrestling just makes it look too easy. They shut out Oklahoma 45 to nothing and surprisingly didn't have PJ Duke in the lineup tonight.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are locked on to Penn State Wrestling. Thank you so much for checking out another edition of Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily source for all things Penn State sports. My name is Zach Seyko, and I am your host of the show as we are going to break down Penn State's 45 to nothing shutout win over Oklahoma. PJ Duke does not wrestle, but he's going to be okay. There is a plan for him to wrestle sooner rather than later. We'll talk about that. Plus, Penn State very well might have the two best wrestlers at 197 pounds. I've said that about 157. How about at 197 with a statement from Connor Mirasola? Marcus Blaze looks fantastic, getting a tech fall. Levi Haynes, a bit of an injury scare. We got plenty to take away from this one, as it was match number 72 in the victory column for consecutive wins. So Penn State just rolling along here. And this was a good Oklahoma team for what it is worth, but they did not have their full starting lineup. So we didn't even get to see the best version of the Sooners team, which is a disservice. But Penn State rolls per usual. Let's start with PJ Duke being out of the lineup. So what does this mean? Why was this the case? I imagine this has to do with load management here. And Cael Sanderson said post-match that the plan is to get him into action with the Army Black Knight Invitational, where they will possibly and most likely enroll or have people enter from multiple wrestlers enter at multiple weight classes, meaning that we might get to see, depending on what Penn State does, sometimes they'll forfeit that championship if Joe Sealey and PJ Duke happen to wrestle there. But let me remind everybody, PJ Duke just wrestled and won a U20 title. He wrestled at the U23 World Championships and wrestled at the senior level World Championships. Guy's been busy. Give the true freshman a little bit of a break here. It is okay for him to take a night off. I think he's earned it at this point in time. This is strictly load management. I doubt there's anything serious here, but if anything's going to be updated differently, I think Cael Sanderson might have alluded to something if that was the case in his post-match press conference. But for now, nothing concerning, but definitely surprising. But here's also the thing. You have the depth to where you don't have to. I think it's very telling that, hey, Penn State doesn't wrestle Tyler Kasak, because the second you do, you don't have the opportunity to redshirt him. So that just kind of solidifies here what Penn State's plan is. That Joe Sealey is the immediate backup because Tyler Kasak is going through a redshirt season and PJ Duke is going to be the guy at 157. But let's not discount what Joe Sealey is either. I mean, that was a dominant victory by Sealey in his own right, winning by tech fall 19-4. And Sealey was a top 3 pound for pound recruit. It was Luke Lillidahl and then Joe Sealey in that class of 2024. So let's not forget about Sealey, that he could be a reliable starter, a surefire All-American, title contender at 157 to be determined. But Penn State is stacked at that weight class. So to have options like that, to allow PJ Duke to rest on a night like that, just the Penn State depth that they have. Connor Mirasola. You want to talk about depth? Okay, at 197. Now, this is a statement victory because when you watch Joe Sealey's matchup against Landon Summer, unranked, you can tell there's definitely a gap in talent. Okay, Connor Mirasola going up against a top 10 wrestler and a proven wrestler in DJ Parker, number 8 in the country. And Mirasola wins by major decision 13-3. That is extremely telling. It means that Mirasola has taken a massive step forward here, because last season, I remember the Army Black Knight Invitational where Josh Barr comes out and he makes a statement defeating Connor Mirasola convincingly, defeating a Lucas Cochran, and proving that he is separating himself from the pack, that this guy's the starter. There's no doubt anymore. There's no more competition. And now Connor Mirasola, yes, he finished the season on a strong note. He's won some world medals along the way here. But the question was, okay, it's still going to be Josh Barr all the way. Yes, that's the case. But Connor, he still has high-end potential, but he's more closer to All-American status than he would be as a national title contender. I've already said already that I think he would be a fringe national title contender at this point in time with where he is right now and with what he's done in the offseason. It's an embarrassment of riches, as they always say with Cale Sanderson and this Penn State wrestling team. But Mirasola, the fact that Penn State at 157 and 197, you would have in some form, in some capacity, a national title contender at both of those weight classes. It allows Penn State, again, to be cautious, to be selective. Again, if PJ Duke isn't ready to go, you can roll out Joe Sealey. Or if you, in the circumstances of, what options were you doing for the season, for your season long goals, you couldn't go wrong with Tyler Kasak. You couldn't go wrong with PJ Duke. At 197, yes, Josh Barr is the overwhelming favorite at 197, but I'm here to tell you that Connor Mirasola is not too far off from that kind of caliber wrestler where he can be contending for national titles. So at 197, this wasn't just a close one. He is so offensively gifted. It's the ability to wrestle on his feet and dictate the pace at a heavier weight class like 197. Mirasola getting the job done. Speaking of a Mirasola winning a match, Cole Mirasola, twin brother at heavyweight. One more is a good test for him. I was eager to see how this one would go. Mirasola got an early counter takedown. Like the way, good counter, quick on his feet, because again, he's going to have to rely on technique. He's going to have to rely on speed. He can't get trapped underneath of other heavyweights because he is giving up size. He is giving up weight. So he stuck to his game and was strategic the entire time and won comfortably 5-2. This was a night to remember for both of the twins, honestly, because it's the season opener. Both Connor and Cole Mirasola are in the starting lineup for under different circumstances, but they start the dual meet off. Connor Mirasola and Cole Mirasola back-to-back get two signature victories to open up the season here. And just to do it in front of the Bryce Jordan Center crowd. Again, I think this is going to be a very memorable night for the Mirasola twins, respectively. Start off the season, open up two victories, Bryce Jordan Center, Penn State crowd. Just a good memory for them, I should say. Marcus Blaze gets in the lineup. Aaron Nagao as well. Welcome back, Aaron Nagao, after a long-term injury. Gets a much-needed victory. We're going to break down those ones. Plus, of course, along the way, Levi Haynes. Everybody else does their job. We're going to talk about that all next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Now let's break it down. For Penn State, I'm going to go with Ethan Grunkemeyer because he delivered in a big way. And I know it was a losing effort. I know they didn't get the win against Indiana. But for Grunk to have the first half that he had, he could have easily folded. That game could have easily been out of reach for the Nittany Lions, and instead they continued to fight. They scratched, they clawed their way back against Indiana, and I know it was a miracle walk-off victory, but Grunkemeyer kept them in the game. Had the early interception in the second half, and then for him to bounce back, to go 22 of 31, complete over 70% of his passes, over 200 yards, all of which have been the first for his career with a full game, and throw another touchdown pass and just have big explosive plays in the passing game. Ethan Grunkemeyer stepped up and delivered and put Penn State in a position to win that game, even though it didn't happen. But he delivered, and if you've been following along, you know that this performance is not a fluke. And just like Grunk delivered for Penn State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Again, there's only so much to take away from these because these matches aren't going to be the toughest tests for Penn State wrestling this season by far. We didn't see the best version of this Oklahoma lineup, and the headlining matchup that we saw between Connor Mirasola and DJ Parker advantage Mirasola, but that was really the only one where you said, okay, you have some vested interest here, just for the sake of the circumstances. Yeah, I guess you could say that for Aaron Nagao, who comes back from injury. Now he's going up against Alex Braun, who I think has the talent, has all the talent in the world, and I would watch him down the stretch of the season because Braun gave Aaron Nagao everything he could handle. But there's the factor that you're shaking off a little rust. It's one thing to do it in the mat room, it's one thing to do it in practice, but to actually go out there and wrestle and shake off some of that rust. So I was surprised by the result a little bit. 9-5. Again, Braun came to wrestle from Oklahoma. And Nagao, I thought, was a little overly aggressive at times, trying to roll him onto his side. And Braun was able to counter for reversals and certainly made Nagao earn this victory. But at times, I thought he was gambling a little too much. Again, he'll refine that. He'll sharpen that. But certainly not Nagao's best performance. But I will chalk this up to him coming back from a long-term injury, getting situated, maybe a little bit of nerves. Again, I don't imagine, and not that he should have to admit it, or maybe, but it's just about getting back out there and getting situated. So I don't blame him for the result. A little close at times. Again, Alex Braun definitely wrestled his heart out. I would like to see just a little more from Nagao, because that's one where he should win a lot more comfortably. But under the circumstances, a win is a win for Nagao. Now, Nagao coming off of an injury, Levi Haynes, a little bit of a scare there. Haynes seemed all amped up for this, jumped up onto the mat after he was introduced. He leaped onto the stage, and Haynes goes out there and in a matter of 10, 15 seconds, just falls right to the mat. And I'm thinking, what's going on? In the blink of an eye, he's hurt. Unfortunately, he's okay. That's why I say it was an injury scare, but he wrestled through it. Haynes, with, again, par for the course, dominant victory, ends up getting, he only pin of the night, surprisingly. A lot of other tech falls, major decisions. But Haynes, against Carter Schubert of Oklahoma, had his chin bumped immediately in the match and fell down to the mat. I was taken into concussion protocol, and if this was a modified rule change of some sort, he was able to go and be tested, be looked at for a concussion, and came right back out. Everything was okay. Wrestled a match and ends up taking the victory. So just a little bit of a scare there for Levi Haynes. Glad he's okay. Glad he was able to wrestle through it. You didn't see any lingering effects. It was just definitely like, whoa, I got bumped underneath the chin there, just kind of a shell shock type of moment there. And then Haynes to secure the fall with a bow and arrow. I mean, it was just classic Levi Haynes to see, but I'm glad just no injuries there for Levi Haynes. He was able to wrestle a match, didn't have to forfeit, and it helped preserve the shutout. He was the second to last match there for Penn State for what it is worth, right? Marcus Blaze. Blaze looks everything as advertised. Again, I have to reiterate, not the most challenging matchup that he's going to face. But Marcus Blaze, the one thing I will say about him at 133, he's one of the most intelligent wrestlers overall. He's a true freshman, but you have somebody that is extremely savvy, and he's just so difficult to score on. And this is his ideal weight class. He was wrestling up at 65 kilos a few times over the freestyle circuit because he didn't break through in 61 kilos, right? He wrestled for he made it on the senior level team at 65 kilos as a reserve, because at 61, he didn't make it as the starter. But Blaze at 133, that's his comfortable weight. So he's a force to be reckoned with. 18-3 tech fall. Love seeing how aggressive he was, no hesitation, and it just kind of fits in with what Penn State's doing. They're trying to score. They're trying to blitz you with a flurry of points. And Blaze wrestled like he was a veteran. There was no hesitation. There was no questions. Okay, does he have any nerves? No. Blaze couldn't have looked any sharper in this first match, in my opinion. Okay, still a couple other matches to get to. And then what's next for Penn State? Again, this was consecutive dual meet victory number 72. They're chasing after that Oklahoma State record. So we'll talk about Mesenbrink. Rocco Welsh wins his first Penn State match. And then what's next on the horizon for the Nittany Lions? All coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot and an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Those bets can be used on anything. Those bonus bets, whether that's NFL football, NBA basketball, college football. Lines are available for Penn State versus Michigan State. Penn State is a 7.5-point favorite, minus 300 on the money line, plus 245 if you're thinking Michigan State for the upset. The total is set at 49.5. If you like those lines, you can bet them over at FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. And remember, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Once again, thanks so much for joining me on this podcast. No, I'm going a little bit out of order here, but trying to prioritize the results based on, what stands out here. Again, the headlining match, Connor Mirasola against DJ Parker. We didn't see guys like Peyton Keller or Brian Saldano or Rafael Hippolito. It wasn't the dual meet that could have been between Penn State and Oklahoma, kind of similar to Penn State and Wyoming last season. Wyoming without a number of its starters that would have tested these guys. So with that being said, again, more dominance across the board. You had Luke Lillidahl win by major decision against Conrad Hendrickson, 14-4. I already talked about, Joe Sealey gets a nice win. Mitchell Mesenbrink against Owen Eck, who Owen Eck is fairly talented as a redshirt freshman, but Mesenbrink, just coming off another impressive freestyle circuit. I know he didn't get it done on the senior level, but he wins at the U23 level and defeats Owen Eck tonight, 19-4 via tech fall. Rocco Welsh with a tech fall as well against Anders Thompson, 19-4. So Rocco Welsh, solid addition to the lineup at 184. And runner up as a freshman at Ohio State at 174 not too long ago, goes through that red shirt season and then enters the transfer portal, and he's an instant title contender for Penn State this season. Now let's go through all the results in order just to recap them all again. Connor Mirasola, major decision over number 8 DJ Parker, 13-3. Cole Mirasola, decision over Juan Mora of Oklahoma, 5-2. Luke Lillidahl, major decision over Conrad Hendrickson, 14-4. Marcus Blaze, tech fall over Tyson Sharmely, 18-3. Aaron Nagao, decision over Alex Braun, 9-5. Shane Van Ness. Oh, we didn't even talk about Shane Van Ness, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Van Ness looks everything as advertised as the number one wrestler at 141 or 149. Again, don't want to overreact here. This is not the best opponent that he's going to face, but Van Ness, who had a long-term injury, settled in last season, returning to the lineup. This is his weight class. There's no Caleb Henson. Shane Van Ness should be considered the favorite here at 149. So this is a statement win tonight. Do want to see him face better competition. But Shane Van Ness, tech fall over Leighton Schneider, 20-1. Joe Sealey gets the tech fall over Landon Summer, 19-4. Mitchell Mesenbrink, also should have pointed out that was the first period tech fall for Mitchell Mesenbrink, 19-4 over Owen Eck. Levi Haynes pins Carter Schubert in 4 minutes and 15 seconds, and Rocco Welsh closes everything out at the Bryce Jordan Center. Tech fall over Anders Thompson, 19-4 for a 45-0 victory. Reported attendance just over 8,000 at the Bryce Jordan Center. Always love those Bryce Jordan Center dual meets, so I'm glad there are 3 on the schedule for this season. Okay, up next, Penn State is going to the Army Black Knight Invitational, Sunday, November 23rd, beginning at 10 a.m. My initial observations there is I was hoping for something a little more exciting, if you will, where this is, is this an opportunity for maybe some guys to wrestle unattached? Masanosuke Ono, Tyler Kasak, right? Just to kind of see some of these, but Braden Davis, right? My hope was that you would get to see PJ Duke and Tyler Kasak in a theoretical final, right? Those mat room wrestle-offs actually on public footage, so to speak. The only one that I think we're going to get after, talking to some different sources is that we might see Lucas Cochran and Cole Mirasola at heavyweight. I don't know that we're going to get to see any of Masanosuke Ono, or there's a possibility, but it is doubtful. Same thing with Braden Davis and Tyler Kasak. It is doubtful that Penn State would send either of them because of, if they wrestle, can they wrestle unattached? So Penn State will most likely, we could, in theory, the only one that is a consequential type of final that we're going to get to see is Lucas Cochran and Cole Mirasola, because Josh Barr is not going to enter. So Connor Mirasola won't have that anticipated final. We could potentially see the likes of Asher Cunningham wrestle, which would be great, or a William Hankel. Penn State, what they will do is probably send 2 wrestlers at each weight class. But some of the ones that were consequential in theory, PJ Duke versus Tyler Kasak, or Braden Davis versus Aaron Nagao, if these lineup battles are really carrying on. But it seems like Penn State's set in stone here. Braden Davis is going to redshirt at 141. Tyler Kasak's going to redshirt at 157. Masanosuke Ono, they're going to redshirt him as well. And if they can't wrestle unattached, then they're definitely not going to be at the Army Black Knight Invitational for any reason. So that is the only one at this point in time. Again, if information changes and Penn State's going to send a group of Nittany Lion wrestlers that, hey, these are some anticipated matchups here. Well, we'll have the appropriate conversation as necessary. But for right now, the Army Black Knight Invitational, what had a few other lineup implications last season, probably the only one that we'll get any clarity on is heavyweight if Lucas Cochran is close. But pretty telling that Cole Mirasola gets the start, which means that he won the most recent wrestle off between the two of them. And again, that dual meet streak is at 72, chasing the record. 76 is held by Oklahoma State. The record is 77 if Penn State, if and when they are to break it. That's going to happen down in Nashville, Tennessee against Stanford if everything holds true. But we know that Penn State's going to break it, and we know that they're going to extend it even further throughout this season. My name is Zach Seyko. I'm your host of Locked On Nittany Lions. As always, thank you so much for joining me on this show. We talk everything here. If you are new to the podcast, subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around Penn State football, Penn State wrestling. We talk recruiting, basketball, hockey as well. All of it is right here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Appreciate each and every one of you for joining me on the show.